end of the month when I get together. We get together about once a month or thereabouts, although I see him on Wednesdays and on Sundays out in Owings Mills and at Ravens games. John Eisenberg is here. All of it brought to you by our friends at Cole Roofing, where, of course, they sponsor our community and charity series, as well as putting the Royal Farms Kona Blend in my coffee cup. John has a new book out. It is the holiday season, and for all authors, writers, and book buyers, for dad or brother or mom or sister, the book is The League, How 5 Rivals Created the NFL and Launched a Sports Empire. But, John, this city wants to talk about Lamar Jackson right now, right? Like, this is as electric and weird a football circumstances we've had. Empty stadiums, rainy days, quarterback changes, offensive changes. It's been a wild couple of months around here, hasn't it?
Yeah, not boring. Definitely not boring. Wasn't that the fear coming into this season? I remember at the end of last season when the Ravens didn't convert 4th and 12, didn't make that stop, and went into an off season with everyone thinking, oh, it's just the same. We've had enough. It's just we've seen this. It's boring. Something needs to change. Well, things changed. And boring it is not, interesting it is, and I don't know, I'm enjoying it, I'll say that.
Do you think it's not boring to run a Navy high school offense? I mean, I think it's kind of boring. The exciting part is at any point this kid may break off a 28-yard run. I think from our perspective, we love defense around here, and our defense is on the field 45 times a game. That certainly plays into Jimmy Smith and Eric Weddle and Terrell Suggs and C.J. Mosley, who's banged up, and defensive linemen who've, are 15 games into the season now. I think it's an incredibly unique way to win, and certainly not a way I had thought of before 6 weeks ago.
No, I didn't think it would be this. What this would be. It's worked out very nicely, and no, I don't think it's boring at all. Because we're really getting into sort of. This is, as a fan, what do you want to see? Do you want to? What's exciting? What's exciting to you? Is a 50-yard bomb exciting? No question about it. But Lamar Jackson making something up on the run or taking off around the edge, I would argue that that's just as exciting. And so, yeah, you just don't know what's going to happen on any play. And to me, that's just a big change in the environment around here. As, I think that the offense looked awfully, for a couple of years here, we sort of, one of the oldest things we've heard around here? Oh, you know what's going to happen. You call the play before it's snapped. We've seen it, blah, blah, blah. Well, that is no longer the case, and I, for one, find it quite fun.
Well, the one thing we've discussed around here, and I will discuss how this offense maybe relates to the league and the foundational part of the league, but it's become a passing league. You got a $25 million quarterback. You have not been able to protect him well. You have not been able to run the ball well. And quite frankly, besides Brashad Perryman high-pointing balls with an orange helmet on last week, they have not been able to get the weapons around Joe Flacco. And over the last 5 years, there is a growing sentiment that they've done him a disservice over the last 5 years by not getting him enough weapons, by not getting him enough protection, by not getting him a running game. John, it's not that I fear this, because I know where this is going. Joe Flacco's out of here. He may never throw another pass. I believe he'll be given another opportunity at some point, but I could be wrong about that, whether it's this week if they're down 10 points in the fourth quarter out in this bandbox in L.A. or not. I don't know. But I do know Joe Flacco is going to enter the market in February, March, April, either in a trade or go to another team where I would think that team will have a chance to win 10 or 11 games next year, no matter where he goes, whether it's Jacksonville, Denver, because I think he's a very capable quarterback, and I know he's more broken down at this point or perceived to be as such, but he still throws the ball better than anybody in the league, and I did tweet out loud the second quarter when the offense was sputtering on Sunday in the rain. I wonder what he's thinking, right? Because what he's saying and what he's thinking, and he could be as quick as 10 days from now, literally, just gone, and the season could be over, and he'll never touch the ball again, and he'll go play for Jacksonville or Denver or Miami or the Giants or wherever it's going to be. And it's a weird ending to this story, right? Like, we both saw the ending of Unitas, and there's a statue out there for him, and, Super Bowl III and Super Bowl V and Earl Morrall and Burt Jones and Marty Domres and all that came after that. Joe Flacco's ending is not going to be broken down in gold pants, wobbled kneed as a San Diego Charger, getting hell beaten out of him by the steel curtain. I think Joe Flacco's going to go win some football games the next couple of years somewhere else.
Well, it's I have a number of thoughts on that, and I do feel Joe has obviously been a great quarterback here, the best quarterback the Ravens have ever had. As a draft pick, no question, a success. Successful draft pick, good career, terrific guy, and deserves better. Doesn't really deserve to lose his job like this. I think, he's been such a stand-up guy, and I would argue that he didn't lose it really so much as Lamar won the job. But, and there is a difference, but
they're asking different things from these guys completely. What the standard is, the standard for Lamar Jackson throwing the football is a lot different than Joe Flacco running the football, right?
Yeah, but yes, the standard is definitely different. He's a different quarterback, so it's just completely different. He's also a rookie. So they've just gone another direction, I would also say, having lived through years of the newspaper business and been in the working world, welcome to the club, Joe. This is what happens in the world. Okay, sometimes something else new comes along, and you have to adjust. And, suddenly, it's not that you get to knock on the door and say the boss wants to talk to you, but, these things happen. They've happened to a lot of people in this world. You get a little bit older, and that is what happens. So, I would say that, I'm sure Joe is dealing with it fine. I'm sure he is anxious to go somewhere else and play well, and that's a distinct possibility. It depends on where he goes. I will say this though, he had his shot. I mean, did they surround him with enough playmakers? I would say no. They didn't. Certainly some years, like you look at 2013, the year after the Super Bowl in particular, when it's like we're counting on Tandon Doss and stuff like that. I mean, they have had Steve Smith came in. There were some receivers. It wasn't an empty cupboard. There were a couple of years that were not good, and the Ray Rice thing didn't help. But and we will forever debate. Was it Joe? Was it the running game? Was it the supporting cast? Blah blah blah. He has a hand in it. You cannot say that he doesn't. A sample size of 5.5 years we're talking about here. This is not a year where things didn't go right. 5.5 years is enough time for a team to say, maybe we need to look at something else of not success, regardless of what the percentage is of his stake in that. 5.5 years is enough time, and that's why they drafted a quarterback in the first round. Made the assessment that we need to think about this, and so it's as always with Joe. It's not black and white. There's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of conflicting emotions. The bottom line being he's a great guy, and everybody wishes him well. I do see where the team is coming from, though.
The book is The League, How Five Rivals Created the NFL and Launched the Sports Empire. John Eisenberg is our guest. Of course, you can find him out at Ravens.com. You can find him at Be More Eisenberg. You can find him anywhere good books are sold or written. And, of course, look, man, you go back to Cotton Bowl days here in the AFL and chucking the ball, and, your league book deals with the business of football, but also how the game evolved and how the game was going to be interesting and how the game was going to be sold. Man, we're really at a crossroads, right? Like, I'm a year out on writing my Dickens pattern of the ghost of Baltimore football past and present and future. You've now seen a full season where 20, 30,000 people every single week, weather, no weather, winning, no winning, Flacco or Lamar, running or passing, aren't coming to the games for games where they purchase tickets. This Lamar Jackson offense is a fascinating case study to me because it's never really been implemented. I mean, the Wildcat was considered a bit of a fad a number of years ago, and now the team's 4-1. They've committed to this. It's working, but I guess the unintended consequences were that it shortens the game, the down and distance part of this. And, I just read Astro Ball, and I know you just read Big Game, and I just recommended Astro Ball, and what a baseball guy you were. But it really opened my mind to analytics, just that book unto itself and what it says to a player when the organization comes and says, here's the way we're going to win and here's why it's going to work this way. I don't know that anybody out in Owings Mills 6 weeks ago had a real powwow with the smart guys around there, the Weddles and the veteran guys and the Terrell Suggs that have been around, and say, you know what? If this thing works out, we're always going to be in 2nd and 2 or 2nd and 3, which is always going to give us a chance to make the next first down. We've got the most athletic kid on the field who could always get us 3 or 4 or 5 yards by moving his hips a little bit. And as long as we keep moving those markers, you defensive guys are only going to be on the field 40, 50 times a game. The games are all going to be done at 3:45. We're not going to be playing overtime games at 4:45 and out there for the 92nd play. And Flacco's not going to be throwing his 57th pass, at the 2-minute warning. All of that goes away. But what it's done for this team, this defense, I don't know that they could have brought this script out 6 weeks ago to me or you or anybody and said this is going to be the unintended consequences of running this style of offense. And when they get 7 points at the end of a 13-play, 7-minute drive, it's really a pretty ruthless thing to do on the road to Matt Ryan, to take the ball away from him, right? I mean, and they better hope that they can do that in Carson this week because the season's on the line and it's worked for a month. We'll see if it's going to work out in California this week.
Much tougher challenge in California this week. No doubt the Chargers are playing well. They're a good team this year. They're balanced, good defense, great quarterback. I will say, I think a lot of people are not giving the Ravens much of a shot in this game. Chargers coming off that great win in Kansas City, and they tied for the best record in the AFC. So a real strong team this year. They did give up a lot of points in Kansas City. They also gave up a lot of points in winning in Pittsburgh. Those are great wins. The Ravens also won in Pittsburgh this year. Those are great wins, but I do think that the defense can be moved on. But it will be very interesting to see how it holds up.
Well, until you've seen this and you've seen the speed of this, and I go back to Marvin Lewis 18 years ago with the flashlight on in Tampa, saying they have no idea how fast we are. It's what everybody said about the Giants. You remember all that, and I think you can scheme this up however you want. But once Lamar gets out there and his hips start to move, and you got to worry about Gus, and you got to worry about him throwing the ball to Nick Boyle or whomever it will be, Max Williams, whoever it is, Mark Andrews. I think things are different when you've never played against it. There's an adjustment period to it and it really is an all day long thing too, right? Like it's going to keep coming at you, and even if we have to punt this time, next time we're going to wear you down and make you back up for 6 minutes, and maybe we only get a field goal out of it. But you look up and it's the fourth quarter and it's a 6-point game, and instead of the game being 42-37, somehow the game's 23-17 or something like that. And that I would not have been sold on this, John. I keep going back to that. Like, I keep going back to why this is working and how this is working, because I don't know that there's any arrogance involved in this. I don't think anybody had great confidence about this working when the team was 4-5. It was almost like, going into Vegas and just putting all the money down on a different color and saying we're going to bet on 8 instead of 5, and we're just going to go with it, and it's working. I don't think they thought it could work like this. I don't think they really believe we're going to put Lamar in and we're going to be playing for the playoffs 6 weeks from now.
No, probably not. I don't think they had any expectation. They hoped it would go well. He's a rookie. There was some thought that it would go really badly. So sure, the whole range was there. This would be pretty much the high end of what was expected. And I think two things are going on that maybe, the defensive component is a key part of it. For one reason being, if you're down 14-0, that looks like a really big number when it's Lamar, and you've got to go with the absence of these, you're not having these 70-yard touchdown plays. You got to grind it out for every point you get, which is fine. But if you're down 2 touchdowns, the defense can't hold up its end. That looks like a really big number to catch up. So they've not been in that situation yet, and we'll see how the sideline reacts. We'll see how Lamar reacts, and see how everybody reacts. If and when that happens, it's going to happen at some point. And that will be really interesting. That's the negative end of it. The positive being, what has surprised me the most, and I noticed it like in the preseason and early in the regular season, Lamar was having trouble getting to the edge. He would take off and he would head for the sideline, try to get around the edge. He wasn't getting there, wasn't getting around the edge, and I felt like he was saying, boy, we're not playing Georgia Tech anymore. This is tough. However, I see him getting there now. He is getting around the edge, and maybe that has to do with the inside running game working so well, or the blocking. Got Ronnie Stanley out there, sealing off the edge and helping him. That's happening a lot. But he's getting to that edge, and you can just see his confidence just growing. I can do this. I can do this in the NFL. And, honestly, he's a kid, and I don't think he's had anything other than success and the ability to get to the edge, so it's really no surprise to him. But to watch him gaining confidence, that's what leads you to believe that, this really could go for a while. I mean, this is something they could ride here if they're able to pull off this win Saturday night, because he's feeling pretty good about how it's going. Athletically, he is not overmatched by any means.
John Eisenberg is my guest. He is B. More Eisenberg out on Twitter. He's got a new book called The League, How 5 Rivals Created the NFL and Launched the Sports Empire. I encourage all of you to gift it during this holiday season. You need a last-minute holiday idea. John's going to talk all about the book here in a minute and how it maybe relates to the modern-day Ravens and the rambling, gambling style. All of our WNST coverage brought to you by our friends at Strategic Factory. That's marketing, printing, promotional goods of all kinds. Hats like this, shirts like this. Branded apparel, logo designs. If you want to make your business better and you have a marketing plan, they can make it better. That's why they have the strategic part of Strategic Factory. Find them at Strategic Factory. They're right in Owings Mills. As are our friends at LifeBridge Health Sports Medicine Institute in Owings Mills. Dr. Kevin Crutchfield came on this week to talk about concussion and head-related injuries in regard to skiing, ice skating, other winter sports. We also talked a little baseball and football in there as well. Make sure you find them in Foundry Row. You've seen Cal Ripken up on the billboards. Make sure you're using the world-class, state-of-the-art facility right in Owings Mills at Foundry Row. It is LifeBridge Health Sports Medicine Institute. Also, the Modell Lyric. Check out their website for all the upcoming things that are happening. John Mellencamp, Joe Bonamassa, Dancing with the Stars, all coming up. There's always magic at the Modell Lyric. Learn more at modell-lyric.com. John Eisenberg is here. Be More Eisenberg and Ravens.com. I will be out in California this week. Luke's in Owings Mills all week for the holiday, and hopefully you're stuffing your stockings with books like this that friends of mine are working on. John, as it relates to the Ravens and sort of this rambling, gambling thing that they're doing that no one else is doing, you go back to the history of the league and the founders of the league and all the crazy shenanigans they were pulling, including the forward pass, which at one point didn't exist, right?
That's right.
And you go back through how this thing happened, and I know this was a labor of love for you in researching the history of the league and how this thing has become as big as it is, even though certain artists are turning down Super Bowl halftime performances right now. But going back to how the thing almost went broke and never happened to begin with, right?
Yeah, and it is interesting to frame it all when I really did go back and look and see sort of the first 3 decades. The NFL was, the only way to describe it is a failing enterprise, pretty much. They didn't have many fans. They were losing money. Franchises coming and going. They were maybe the number 6 sport in America. Just people weren't that interested. And the story of my book is how they survived those years and what they did to eventually, to slowly but surely change the game, make it more interesting, more exciting, and set it up to succeed down the line. I really stopped at the point where they're just starting to do that. But no question, as you mentioned, one of the things they did too was the forward pass. What the Ravens are doing now, you can go back and look at the professional football in the early 30s before they really opened up the forward pass. And what the Ravens are doing now is not too much different from that. It was almost always running. And
or as I call it, rugby, right? Literally. It looks like rugby.
It's a lot more sophisticated now, obviously, with a lot more sort of this run-pass option thing. But it's not too different. I see these plays that they've drawn up where the receiver is going in motion. Incidentally, man in motion was another thing that's the T formation, and George Halas really revolutionized offensive football with that in the late 30s. But the man in motion and this deception without the forward pass, the deception of trying to take the defensive player's eyes and move them maybe away from the ball so they lose track of the ball, it's exactly what the Ravens are doing. They wound up with that touchdown to Chris Moore against Tampa, on what was basically a reverse. It's sort of an inside reverse. Plays like that were typical, very typical. It was guys coming and going, running backs coming and going. Where's the ball? A lot of trickery, and it's not a whole lot different from what was being done 70, 80 years ago in football. So to call it a throwback maybe is not even doing it justice.
John, are you have your calendar clear for January 5th and 6th? I mean, I do, and I believe that they can go out there and win with this sort of style. I still believe at some point they're going to find themselves down 10 points with 8 minutes left to go, and old number 5 might get the tap on the shoulder. Although I don't know if that ship sailed, and I don't know how they would feel about a 6-hour flight in the middle of the night back if Lamar is the reason they lose. If he puts the ball on the ground 3 times out there in California, throws a couple of picks, doesn't play particularly well, I would wonder how all of them will feel about having it all crash down with a rookie quarterback. I think there's part of that with leaving a $25 million guy that throws the ball better than anybody in the league, reads defenses as well as anybody in the league, and letting that guy sit over there with dust on him as literally your season goes down. And maybe the end for John Harbaugh here too. Maybe. I don't know. But the stakes are really high for the franchise, I think, over the next couple of weeks. Or God forbid somehow they win and then Brashad Perryman high points them and beats them, next weekend. There's a lot going on here. And I've said for a month, at some point Joe Flacco will come and maybe be given an opportunity to save the day. I don't know if I believe that now. I don't know if they're down 13 points with 9 minutes left to go that they're going to tap him on the shoulder Sunday. And at some point they're going to be down late, right, and he gives them a better chance. I don't know at what point that drama unfolds, Yeah,
the stakes are high. I don't know if they're quite as high as they were, say, a month ago. And as far as Lamar being the one to carry them or fail them, I think Lamar is the one who has, and the style of play he's brought is the one that's gotten him into this position. So, whether they would be in this position with Joe, I have no idea. All I know is their backs were against the wall because they lost a lot of games with Joe before he got hurt. They lost 3 in a row and 4 out of 5 or whatever it was. So there's really Lamar's the one that has gotten them into this situation. And, hey, you can make the argument that they would have those extra wins if they'd gone to this style of play sooner. Well,
it would have given them a better chance against, like, Carolina, as an example, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. Now, they weren't going to do it, but you could argue that maybe, if they'd gone to it sooner, they wouldn't be in this situation. So, I don't know. I think they are going to give Lamar a long leash and let him lose games. Which is what you do.
They don't have any to lose left now, though, right?
No, and I think, and this is a topic for another day, but I'm not sure that I don't know what's going to happen with the coaching situation, but I think that they're, the odds of Harbaugh coming back have gone way up, and if anything, he's got the leverage, and it will be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think the organization is much more likely to stick with him. And the
question might be whether he wants to stick around too, right? I mean, those reports that come out a couple of weeks ago, I mean, I haven't talked to John about it, but you're around it. We've been around it a long time. We saw the shelf life for Brian and, where the shelf life is even for Mike McCarthy or for Marvin or for Belichick. I mean, it's going to end for Tomlin. It's going to end for Peyton, although it might end with another parade in 6 weeks for Peyton. But there is an end to all of this, and there might be a point where John's like, I want to write another chapter, and whether I'm going to have a closing chapter here or a new chapter elsewhere, he's in a position to write that check right now if he wants to, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to look in the mirror, okay, no matter how this ends. The organization's going to look in the mirror and say, can we do better than this? Can we do better than him? Can we tweak this thing, bring him back, maybe, mess with the coordinators a little bit, or who knows? But some sort of different alignment. Are we better off going another direction? I'm not sure they are. But then John's also going to need to look in the mirror and say, is this what I want to do? Do I want to try something else? I have a nice situation here. I think the likeliest end result is that he's here. So, but, of course, it remains to be seen. Things could change dramatically. But that's sort of my reading of it right now.
John Eisenberg is here. He has written a deeply researched, surprise on every page, and altogether marvelous new book, according to the Weekly Standard. It is The League, How Five Rivals Created the NFL and Launched a Sports Empire. This book has no Modell in it, right? This is way before Art got involved, right? This book sort of ends at that, greatest game ever played sort of era of the 50s, right?
Right. Bookend, the greatest game is the final scene in this book, and Art bought the Browns in '61, I believe. So yeah, he's this is pre-Modell, all of it.
Would Art know all of the stories in this book, having bought into the league at that point and really rubbed elbows with all of these guys that sort of built the league? I mean, Art was one of the first guys to leverage everything he had and stroke a couple of $1 million, which sounds like billions of dollars now, almost 60 years later, to get involved in the league. This is what Art bought, right? Like where you leave this was the dream Art Modell, and I know you wrote a lot about the Dallas situation many moons ago. This is where the Cowboys and the Chiefs and the AFL sort of found itself on the front of all this, right?
Yes, Art knew all these guys, of course. Well, I'm sure he knew them all. A couple of them died before he got into the league, but Tim Merritt died, Burt Bell died. I'm sure he knew Burt. I'm sure he knew all these guys, and I'm sure he knew most of these stories. And yes, he's cut from the same cloth as these guys because, for the exact reason you say, I mean, Art's story is just unbelievable how he really leveraged the entire thing, the purchase of the Browns, and that's just amazing. These guys, the way they operated. There wasn't that much money on the table. There wasn't that much coming in. They were borrowing money. They were trying other businesses to keep them going.
Well, all they had were ticket sales, right? Literally, and a couple of beer sponsorships. That was it.
Right. Program one year. I used Hallis really as the sort of the exemplar of the financial situation because he's the son of immigrants and no family money at all, and they never had it, and he was walked a fine line forever. Just forever. It seemed like one year he took out IOUs, paid his players with IOUs. He didn't have the money to pay them. That was in the Depression. And so he was just barely making it for a long time. One year he made it because of the money from program ad sales. Kept him from really folding the Chicago Bears. So it was not a money game. There's no way any of them, or even Art, could have imagined the money that would eventually be on the table. There's no way, because there was just so little for so long.
Don't we ask ourselves why it's still as popular as it is? I mean, I know you just read Big Game, and I like to plug all the books I've been reading lately, that they're all worthwhile, and everybody should go out and run out and buy John's book on the history of the league before the holidays. But it really is amazing the hold the league has, and you and I, having been here when the Mayflowers pulled out, all the shenanigans with Herb Belgrad we had to pull to get back in, the money I wrote for a PSL back in 1995, 96, 97, and now where the Ravens find their business, right? And where the Orioles find their business, and where Baltimore finds its business. It's really, and I know we talked about this a year ago, it's a weird time right now. John, I have eaten literally a season full of season tickets. I have eaten my PSLs every week for 7 weeks. I'm $1,500 deep into wasted money. $1,500 Christmas week. I'm sitting and saying, I'm not renewing my PSLs next year. And I'll tell anybody, I'll tell Dick, I'll tell Cal, I'll tell anybody, I can't give the tickets away. I mean, I cannot give the tickets away. And this happened very, very quickly. And I know on the other side of this, you've got all of these musicians pushing back on the Kaepernick thing, saying we're not going to do the Super Bowl, and you got fans saying, well, if you take a knee, I'm not coming to the game. And every time I put something up, there is some, a Caucasian out in the suburbs who's still pissed about a year and a half ago. It's always the same story, and they're not coming. It's frightening to me to see the stadium this empty, this often, this quickly, and I think it really rattles the cages out in Owings Mills, and we're now 2 years into this, and I don't know that they know what to do about it, because Lamar may be playing this exciting brand of Navy football, but nobody wants to come out and see it anymore. They want to come see Joe Flacco at this point. They like winning, but coming and being that purple army we've become accustomed to at the stadium, I'm wondering whether that's ever going to happen again, John.
It's a fair question, and it definitely rattling the cages. Not just in Baltimore. I mean, industry wide.
Oh,
There's a lot. You see a lot. It's not limited to here. It's happening everywhere. You turn on those games in Nashville. I notice it there. Carolina, I'm just looking.
Houston had a lot of empty seats the other day, and they're as good as anybody. I'm going out to California, John. I'm flying 6 hours to go to a place where they're playing football with a team that has Los Angeles on it for a city that doesn't want them, never wanted them, never is going to want them, quite frankly, right? Like, that is the dumbest, biggest accident waiting to happen right now out there, and they're trying to pitch it to me like the president pitches his lie. It's just, it's nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense, But they're going to make sense of it, and they're going to win 14 games or whatever, right?
Well, we'll see. Well, the Chargers are good for them as a team and the players. But it does make you wonder a little bit about the importance of fan support, right? They're on their own. They are on their own. But I don't know. All these things are fair questions, and the reasons why the seats are empty is long and complicated, and it's not limited to one thing. And it could well be that we're looking at, and one of the things, make no mistake, is that it's so nice to sit at home and watch it now. In these unbelievable, your huge television that is better than being there, and cheaper beer, free beer, and so it's really nice. So it could be one of the fallouts from all this could be all these stadiums everywhere are too big. They are too big. People would rather watch it on TV. Maybe that stadium you're going out to in Carson or wherever it is the right size, 30,000. That's the people that are going to want to show up and hear the roar of the crowd, which is what drew so many people for so long. It's changed now. It's becoming a TV show. So I don't know. It is an interesting time. I do feel that the game itself, it has some issues, too many penalties, I think, and things, but it's still alluring, and it is still unscripted television. You don't know what's going to happen. Lamar being Exhibit A. So that is what keeps drawing us. But, there's some larger forces at work here, and there's just no telling where it's going.
Appreciate you and appreciate the good work. No new books for you, right? You don't have a 19 resolution to write a book about, I don't know, horse racing, baseball, football, something? Nothing? No?
I have a 19 resolution. I do believe I will get going on another book. It will not be out in 2019, and I have not begun to deal with that yet, but that will be my resolution. Get one on the table.
From horse racing to Cal Ripken and Iron Man and Lou Gehrig to now the League, how 5 rivals created the NFL and launched a sports empire. One of my mentors and dear friends, the good professor, John Eisenberg, joins us here. Be More Eisenberg's the way to find him. You can find him at Ravens.com for all Ravens coverage heading into the holidays. John, I hope your wrist hurts from signing books. Hope you have a great holiday, and see you on the other side. I'm a little excited about this trip because I dig seeing these NFL games in weird places, right? Like I saw the game in the Liberty Bowl back in the day. I saw the Ravens play the Titans or the Oilers then in Vanderbilt Stadium. So I'm trying to add as many stadiums. This is my one chance to add that. And by the way, we play at the Rams next year, and I have never, and I think you probably have seen a game at the LA Coliseum. I've never been to the LA Coliseum. So I'm looking forward to seeing an NFL game there as well. I'm trying to add as many as I can. So I'll click the StubHub Center or whatever they're calling it this week, because I know the name changes next week as well, and it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Whatever it is, at that whatever it is stadium, have a good time.
I remember when REM toured back when they went from being a little band at a club to playing the Capitol Center. They had, they were one of the first bands to have the video behind them, and they were so crass that behind them they had a slide that said, "Hello, we are REM. Welcome to your city here."
Yeah, it's not far removed from that. It is not far. I do remember watching the Ravens. Yes, it did happen. Play a game and lose a game in the Astrodome. So they have played in a lot of weird places. I think this will be near the top.
Well, that's why I'm going. That and because we can make the playoffs too, and it's LA and it's 74 and sunny. John, have a great holiday. Sign a lot of books. We'll see you soon, okay?
All right. Thank you. You too.
John Eisenberg, The League, how 5 rivals created the NFL and launched a sports empire. Make sure you pick that up for the holidays. Make sure you're checking out John at Be More Eisenberg as well. You can find me out on the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere and everywhere in the world. Our morning newspaper ships digitally to your email inbox. That's all brought to you by Planet Fitness, where it's 5 down and 5 or 10 a month. 5 down, 10 a month. Yeah, there you go. Into 2019. They'll let you work out. There's a Planet Fitness right around the corner from you. Get in the best shape of your life there. They're always judgment-free. They got that lunk alarm working. And if you need some inspiration for 2019, find some great stories at planetoftriumphs.com. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.